Charles Hoeflich served as Secretary-Treasurer of ISI from its founding in 1953. He signed some of the founding documents, the incorporation documents, along with Frank Chodorov and Bill Buckley, J. Howard Pugh from Sun Oil, who was the first donor to ISI here in Philadelphia. And of course, the first office was here in Philadelphia back in 1953. Charlie served as Secretary-Treasurer from 1953 until 2011. 58 years, he was the guiding force behind ISI, and he was also the longtime President and Chairman of Univest Bank up the road in Bucks County. ISI's most distinguished award is named in Charlie's honor, the Charles H. Hoeflich Lifetime Achievement Award. It's rarely given out. It's only given on very special circumstances. It's not given annually. It's only been given to 8 individuals who have been honored because of their lifelong, selfless dedication to the promulgation of those principles and virtues that support a free society. The list includes, in fact, is comprised of William F. Buckley Jr., Gerhart Niemeyer, Richard A. Ware, Edwin J. Fulner Jr., M. Stanton Evans, Louis Lehrman, Richard V. Allen, and Lee Edwards. In adding the name of Jack Templeton to this list of worthies, I can think of no one else who is as committed to Jack to teaching, virtue, the importance of the free enterprise system, and the core principles envisioned and enshrined in America's founding documents. I've been fortunate personally to have gotten to know Jack over the last 20 years in a number of different capacities. And I was actually quite surprised by all of the emails and folks who came up to me when we announced that we were going to be awarding Jack Templeton this award, who I had no idea how they would have known Jack. And his tentacles are very broad and deep. Now, one, I didn't know him formally through a doctor-patient relationship. Of course, he's a pediatric surgeon, but on numerous occasions, I can attest to having been surgically examined by Jack through his inquisitive, relentless cross-examination, and by the laughs, I sense that some of you have gone through the same experience. I first got to know Jack back in the mid-1990s, in fact, when I was at ISI, and we established the Templeton Honor Rolls, celebrating the top 100 character-building colleges, which was an exciting project he helped come up with and that we successfully partnered with him on. And then, as Nick mentioned, I went to work with Foster Freese at Freese Associates, and Foster had been very close, had been friends with Sir John Templeton, and in fact was on the Foundation's advisory board. So in Foster's place, I got to attend a number of John Templeton Foundation events and got to meet Sir John and spend time with Jack. And also, we managed money for the Templeton Foundation. So I would go, and one of my relationships was the Templeton Foundation, so I'd actually go and present the stocks that we owned on behalf of the foundation, and just like I'm sure his father would have, Jack was always quick to ask very specific questions about each of the stocks we owned and just what the earnings per share was, and just what the justification for owning every name in the portfolio was. Later on, also became very involved in politics, and Jack was very involved with the many campaigns, but especially Rick Santorum's Senate campaign. But also in Delaware, he was very keen on trying to defeat Joe Biden, and so we tried our best a couple of times, and we got nowhere. But Jack would hold events here at the Union League Club and other things, and was very active and engaged in local politics. And some of those messages, in fact, I received were from local Delaware politicians. And I'm just amazed that, why would a guy up here in Philadelphia be supporting some local row position down in row office down in Wilmington, Delaware. He also was quite involved with a lot of the inner city Christian ministries, things in Chester, Pennsylvania. Got to know him through The Gathering, through Council for National Policy, the Philanthropy Roundtable. Just like Ed Meese, every time you go to a conference anywhere across the country, it would seem that Jack and Pina Templeton would be there. And then later on with Colin Hanna, who's here, and Pricey, when they started Let Freedom Ring and the Koch seminars, Jack became very interested in kind of the macro national messaging of these ideas, all these ideas we care so much about. How do you freshen them up and make them applicable to today? And he was quite the mastermind behind a lot of that was going on. And then when I came back to ISI 4 years ago, we were in the midst of the Culture of Enterprise project that he had helped devise and fund. And I was always struck by the fact we were giving awards away to some extraordinary undergraduate students from around the country. And he and Pina would come and would stay beyond the bitter end. Jack always wanted to find out and learn about each of the individuals, just what they were up to. And there were some extraordinary students. They were doing things like starting wells in Mozambique and libraries in Uganda and projects with prosthetic limbs in Central America, and he would spend 20 minutes one-on-one with each of the students until finally Pina would have to lead him away because it was 9:30 and he hadn't had anything to eat for dinner. And I remember not too long ago he was giving a lecture here in Philadelphia, and of course Pina came in behind him with a big suitcase full of like AV equipment, and she's a medical doctor as well, a pediatric anesthetician, and she was plugging in everything, and you could tell just the great loving relationship between the two of them, and Jack introduced her as his young AV girl. And all the local institutions they've been a part of, from the FPRI, the National Constitution Center, the Museum of the American Revolution, the Templeton Honors College here at Eastern University, and Christian schools. I mean, the list just goes on and on. His interests, passions, generosity knows no bounds. The two things that strike me about Jack, one is he loves people. He genuinely cares about people. It's that doctor, healer part of him. And the second thing is really, I think, that he believes in people. And we've mentioned M. Stanton Evans, who was once asked by Time magazine to describe his political philosophy. And he said, I think my political philosophy is pretty similar to the farmer in Seymour, Indiana. He believes in God, he believes in America, and he believes in himself. And I think that's actually probably pretty similar to the way that Sir John and Jack Templeton would have described their political philosophy, having grown up and spent a lot of time down in Winchester, Tennessee. So one thing that Jack told me that really struck in one of these conversations we had when we were talking about the work that ISI was doing and passing along some of these core ideas to young people, he said, Chris, you've got to teach them so that they never forget. And that's always stuck with me, and that's what we're trying to do. On that note, I'd like to introduce actually the person who's going to say the formal remarks on behalf of Jack Templeton. Ed Fulner, who all of you know, who really needs no introduction, but Ed first became involved with ISI as a student in college at Regis University, a small Jesuit liberal arts college in Denver. He encountered an ISI professor who introduced him to Russell Kirk and F.A. Hayek and Erich von Kuhnelt-Ledeen. And in 1962, he launched an ISI group on campus, began attending ISI lectures and ISI summer schools, and later he was teaching ISI summer schools and lecturing himself as he earned advanced degrees from Wharton, the London School of Economics, and the University of Edinburgh. In 1974, he launched the Heritage Foundation, arguably under Ed's tenure and leadership, the most influential think tank on the planet. Along the way, he served 2 stints as ISI's board chairman, and he's been integrally involved in ISI since 1962. As I mentioned earlier, he is in fact himself a recipient of the Charles H. Hoeflich Lifetime Achievement Award. And one reason we wanted him to be here is that in the John Templeton Foundation Charter, it actually mentions some guideposts that the members of the foundation are to refer to and reference in terms of the grants that the foundation gives. It includes a number of organizations and individuals, including the Mont Pelerin Society, the Acton Institute, the Atlas Network, represented here by Alex Chaffouin, and also individuals, Mises, Hayek, Friedman, and none other than Ed Feulner. So Ed, please come up.
Thanks very much, Chris. Jack Templeton. As conservatives, we all recognize that we stand on the shoulders of those who went before us. For Jack Templeton, that was a pretty big challenge. His father was a larger-than-life model, but Jack took a very separate path to reach out and to extend the blessings of liberty to future generations. A universally renowned pediatric surgeon, as Chris mentioned, Jack has upheld and indeed expanded the vision of his late father, the legendary Sir John Templeton. Dr. Jack's commitment and devotion to the mission and vision of Sir John is intense and very real. Jack Templeton has an eagerness to ask big questions on the path to new knowledge. I know, like Chris, I've been in his interrogation room on several occasions with very memorable results. All of a sudden you go in and you think you're going to ask for a little grant, and maybe you'll have to give an explanation about your organization. But he'll look at you very intently and say, "Are humans inherently good?" Wow. Or how about, do we learn more by mistakes than we do by success? And at that point, your heart kind of goes down when you're in there to make a request. But it's those kinds of questions that really do make you take a step back and think about big thoughts. Jack Templeton understands the essential role of the family as the foundation of the free society. Dr. Jack has a deep knowledge of the American founding and the struggle of liberty for all. Dr. Jack is a champion of liberty in all aspects of human life, spiritual, religious, economic, and social. Dr. Jack knows that freedom is not free. His commitment to national security is well known. Dr. Jack has paid for research and advocacy on family matters, on national security matters from his own funds, in addition to the Templeton Foundation. As leader, chairman, and president of the Templeton Foundation, he has followed with care the statutes of the foundation, which help nurture the whole notion that we all again believe in terms of donor intent. And a third generation of Templetons are now sharing those visions of spiritual reality, free enterprise, and scientific inquiry on big questions affecting human life and human virtue. His daughters, nephews, and nieces all play relevant roles in the foundation. Among the many areas where Dr. Jack Templeton and the Templeton Foundation have made tremendous strides in advancing are the promotion of individual and economic liberty, the development of a virtuous character based on universal truths, the nurturing of the highest minds of the new and emerging generation, and the continued pursuit of real wisdom. These are all things that we as conservatives can strive to achieve in our own lives, and that Dr. Jack has done so much to advance for all of us. Jack has been involved in countless organizations that advance our timeless values and principles. In addition to the Philadelphia Society, which is the occasion that we all have come together here on this weekend for, the Mont Pelerin Society, of which Sir John was a very distinguished member, many other pillars of the conservative movement, most specifically including the Intercollegiate Studies Institute. The impact that Jack have made in promoting the ideas of the Free Society are staggering. Chris has mentioned a number of them. But right here in this neighborhood, the National Constitution Center, and through ISI, so many different programs. Again, Chris has talked about what Dr. Jack has done, the Collegiate Network of Student Journalists, the Culture of Enterprise initiatives, the Culture of Enterprise lecture series, the books that we produce under that rubric, the Culture of Enterprise undergraduate essay contest, the ISI Civic Literacy Challenge. So many other areas, not only within ISI, but within advancing the freedom cause in the United States and around the world. The Templeton Honor Roll for Education in a Free Society. Over his lifetime, Dr. Jack Templeton has clearly earned, has clearly advocated, and has lived a free and virtuous life. Therefore, it's my very great pleasure to ask Chris if he would come back up, and to ask Dr. Jack Templeton's daughter, Jennifer Simpson, if she would come up so we can present the Charles Hoeflich Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Jack Templeton. Chris?
Oh boy. I just have to say that this is actually a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Mostly, I think, because I don't know if my prepared remarks could actually match what has already been said about my father. It's a humbling experience to be able to sit in a chair and hear these things that are being said about your father that you think you know, who you have obviously known your whole life, and then be really humbled about how much he's actually been doing, and when he was away, where he actually was. And that there's a reason why I can't catch him on the phone. I've known that my father was involved in so many of these things, and of course, anybody who has known him doesn't walk away from knowing that this is a man full of passion. But I had not, as I think many children often do, not stopped to fully appreciate what a remarkable person he is. So I am grateful I prepared remarks because I think right now I feel a little overwhelmed. I also think it's a little bit difficult in this situation because I really wish he was here. I wish he was here because I know that there are so many people here today that would want to just come up and say hi to him. I wish he was here, and I wish my mother was here so that they could hear themselves being honored. Because I think anybody who knows my father knows that when you're honoring him, you are also honoring my mother. They really are a team. Yeah. She has actually been spending a lot of time with him at the foundation, and she said something interesting to me recently about her own retirement. That one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the reasons that she wanted to retire was so that she could spend more time with Dad during the foundation activities. Because really their whole marriage had been about working together as a team. They often worked together as a pediatric surgeon and pediatric anesthesiologist, which I just think is beautiful. And I'm also glad that they stayed married, because that's not always the easiest thing, is to work alongside each other. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful to ISI for bestowing this honor on him. It really is something that's touching for my family. I'm really grateful that this is being filmed so that he can hear all the wonderful things that have been said about him. I, of course, wish he was here, and I know you all wish he was here as well so that you could share your appreciation. But I encourage you to send notes. He loves notes. So if anybody would like to share their appreciation, I know that if he receives notes from you or my mother receives notes, he would be grateful to hear it. One of the benefits, and I actually stopped by to see him on my way down here tonight, about being able to accept this honor in his place, is that I get to say everything about him that he would never say about himself, let alone think about himself. One of the difficult tasks of doing this is that it's too long to list in this short amount of time. I'm not actually even sure how much time I have, which I've probably burned through already. But if I were to summarize what I would like to say about my father in front of all of you, is that I love him and I love being his daughter. The reason for this is too long, like I listed. And I also, so in preparing for tonight, I got to spend more time understanding who ISI is and what the Philadelphia Society is. And through that, I had the opportunity to appreciate my father even more. And just like I've already said, which were not part of my prepared remarks, is getting the greatest gift that I think I've had all week, all month, is being able to hear the things that were said about him so that I could get to know my father better. Those of you who know my father well know that he has always been inspired by America's founding fathers. And especially in the last couple of years, he has chosen to speak a lot about Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. I know that one of the things he appreciated about them the most were their ingenious ideas that helped cultivate this free society. But what I took away from those lectures when I would hear him talk about the founding fathers, and specifically Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin, was how much he valued their character, how important their honest character was to him, and how important their good character was. Out of all the things that my father has taught me in life, I know that character was the most important. One of the ways that my father first exposed me to the Templeton Foundation was through the honor rolls that were mentioned tonight. I know that when he showed me those honor rolls for universities that focused on character education, what he was saying to me was that the thing that he wanted me to take away the most was the importance of character. This award that you have given to him tonight, to me, is not just about the things that he's accomplished, but it's about the fact that you can see his good character. And so I so thank you, as a family member, as his daughter, for honoring him in this way, and for also emphasizing how important character is for freedom, for free markets, and that without it, you really can't have those endeavors, and they cannot be successful. So I thank you all tonight. I thank Chris Long for inviting me here. I thank Ed for your kind words, and I thank ISI and the Philadelphia Society for all that you do to promote character and for all that you do to promote free society. Thank you so much.
I remember, I think one thing that I read in one of the foundation books, and there's so many great books that the foundation has put out, including the worldwide laws of life. And I think one of the laws that Sir John and I know Jack live by is that love is the one asset. The more you give away, you'll never run out of it. And so thanks so much, Jennifer, for those wonderful remarks of yours. And please give your father our best. We know that he, as well as the foundation, has done, we know Jack believes in it, and we know the foundation has supported work into intercessory prayer. So tonight, as everyone heads to bed, if you can keep Jack and Pina Templeton in your prayers. He, by all accounts, is doing well. He's recovering, but having going through some difficult treatments. So if you can keep him in your prayers, we'd certainly appreciate that. I know he'd be grateful. I do remember when your grandfather had his 90th birthday, your father went around to, I don't know how many, 50 or maybe 100 friends, and had them all write a one-page letter, and your dad put that in a book for your grandfather. So as Jennifer mentioned, if we could all write some letters and send them to Jack, I know that he would certainly appreciate receiving them. So thank you all for being here tonight for this very special evening. We look forward to joining you afterwards. Feel free to linger and mingle and take home your signed copy of The Cost of Liberty by Bill Murkison. Thanks, everyone.